In Sanatana Dharma, we are taught that every action has a reaction, karma. What if the world's financial crisis and wars are just the results of collective choices, driven by greed and ignorance? Today, we'll expose how the US dollar became the world's most powerful weapon, why the Western alliance was engineered, and how the same deep state script is repeating as the dollar's era ends. Let's connect the dots from World War I to today's de-dollarization. Who really rules the world? Not presidents, not parliaments, a handful of banking dynasties, secret councils, hidden from the light. When a society chases only wealth and power, forgets dharma, what kind of karma does it unleash on itself, on everyone? Before World War I, the world was a chessboard. European empires and the United States locked in a ruthless race for colonies, resources, and gold. Behind every empire, the banks, J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds, the Bank of England. They funded kings, fueled industries, and pulled the strings no one saw. Then 1913, a new power rises in America, the Federal Reserve. A handful of men now holding the keys to the nation's money, just before the world is torn apart by war. World War I wasn't just a clash of armies. It was a realignment of global power and global finance. When nations chase gold and power at any cost, what seeds of karma are they planting for future generations? As Europe burned, US banks funneled billions to Britain and France, making them financially dependent. Gold reserves shifted across the Atlantic. Europe paid for war with gold, and America became the world's creditor and gold holder. The Allies weren't just a military coalition, they became a financial bloc, bound together by debt and cash flows. After the war, the Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to pay crushing reparations. To pay, Germany borrowed from US and UK banks, sparking cycle of debt and devastating hyperinflation. The seeds of crisis were planted, not just in politics, but in the world's money itself. After the World War I, peace was only an illusion. The world's wound ran deeper than borders or treaties. When money, power, and fear drive nations, what kind of future do we create, and for whom? The Treaty of Versailles deindustrialized Germany, unleashing mass unemployment, social unrest, and the rise of radical ideologies. The Spanish flu swept across Europe, compounding chaos. Amidst the turmoil, new waves of social change surged. LGBTQ movements in Germany, bold art and music, while the economy spiraled. Western banks consolidated power, buying up assets in weakened economies. The US dollar, now backed by gold, became the new anchor for global finance. As Germany borrowed to pay reparations, inflation exploded and despair grew. Krishna teaches that true wealth is not in gold or paper, but in wisdom and restraint. What happens when a civilization forgets this? World War II wasn't just a battle of territory. It was a battle for the world's money and soul. When a nation turns its currency into a weapon, what karma does it invite? The US supplied arms and goods to the Allies on credit, then demanded gold as payment, draining Europe's reserves. When the war ended, America had most of world's gold and dictated the terms at Bretton Woods. The dollar became the world's reserve currency pegged to gold. The IMF and World Banks were created to enforce this new order, with the US at the center. Only Western collectives had the power to set the rules. Others were debtors or dependents. Just as unchecked consumption leads to debt and collapse, unchecked sense gratification leads to suffering. Both are cycles of karma. Sadly, history isn't just written by victors. It's spun by headlines.
दिक्कत हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स की नहीं है जब सोर्स ऑफ न्यूज ही फेक है पूरा 100% फेक मतलब आंख बंद करके आप बोल सकते हो फेक ही है मतलब रियल होने के लिए आपको कुछ चेक करना पड़ेगा कि ये रियल ऐसा हो सकता है क्या रियल मैं आपको बता दूं कम से कम 6 हेडलाइंस प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन वॉर्न्स इजराइल प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन वॉर्न्स नेतन्याहू कम से कम ऐसी 6 हेडलाइन जिनके ऊपर 10-10 15-15 शोज बन चुके हैं और उसके बाद तुरंत 1-2 वीक के बाद यूएस जो है नई मिलिट्री एड अनाउंस करता है इजराइल के लिए यूक्रेन तो होना ही नहीं था और रशिया तो हार चुका वॉर पूरा 2022 का हेडलाइन रशिया हार चुका यूक्रेन तो अगर वेस्टर्न इंटरफियरेंस चल रहा है आपको इंडेक्स और रैंकिंग के बारे में पता है कि फेक चल रही है तो आप उनकी मीडिया हेडलाइंस उठा के एनालिसिस क्यों कर रहे हो डी-डॉलराइजेशन तो हो ही नहीं सकता है फिर आप एक्सप्लेन कर लो फिर क्यों ले ऑफ हो रहे हैं आईटी सेक्टर में वेस्ट में आप एक्सप्लेन कर लो इतनी बैंक्स क्यों गिर गई 3-4 बड़ी वाली अगर आपको लगता है नहीं हुआ है आप पूरे मासेस को क्यों एंजाइटी में रखना चाह रहे हो कि कोई बड़ा वर्ल्ड वॉर हो जाने वाला है या कुछ इंडिया चाइना का वॉर तो 2022 से 20 से करा रहे हैं जब से एलएसी स्टैंड ऑफ अभी इंतजार ही कर रहे हैं हम मतलब चाइना इंतजार कर रहा था इतने टाइम से कि पहले S-400 आ जाए सारे राफेल्स आ जाए उसके बाद हम अटैक करेंगे इंडिया को है लीगेसी मीडिया का तो चलो समझ आता है वो तो वहीं से उठा रहे हैं सीधा हेडलाइन कट कॉपी पेस्ट ही है बिल्कुल कोई दिमाग इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करना उन्होंने तो ठीक लेकिन एक्सपर्ट्स क्यों ऐसा कर रहे हैं मतलब मैं वेस्टर्न फेक प्रोपेगेंडा आपको कंट्री में चला के आपको क्या फायदा हो रहा है लेकिन कोई भी ये अगर बोल रहा है कि ये हो जाएगा न्यूक्लियर वॉर होना है वर्ल्ड वॉर शब्द का अर्थ क्या होता है ये पता है कितनी कंट्रीज की आप बात कर रहे हो जैसे ही वो वर्ल्ड वॉर बोले सबसे पहले उनको पूछो आप कितनी कंट्रीज की बात कर रहे हो कम से कम 25 कंट्री के नाम बताओ जरा और क्या टाइम फ्रेम है तो ये बहुत जरूरी है अवेयरनेस मासेस में कि लीगेसी और जो भी वेस्टर्न मीडिया वाले जो हैं वो तो ये चलाएंगे ही चलाएंगे क्योंकि उनका तो काम है वो तो इसी पे तो बेस है ना उनका पूरा कोलोनाइजेशन जो उन्होंने पूरा ये स्लेवरी वाला माइंडसेट ही बनाया है मीडिया को कैप्चर करके और अगर उसी हेडलाइन को पकड़ के अगर आप एनालिसिस करने वाले हो तो 1-2 बार नहीं अंकित शाह आपको 100% हर बार पकड़ेगा कि रॉन्ग है
But the real story is always in the money. Who printed it, who moved it, and who profited. Headlines can distract us from the truth, just as Maya distracts the soul from reality. So let's look at what the headline said and what the cash flows actually revealed. For example, World War I, the paper screamed, war to end all wars, and nation rally for freedom. But behind the banners, US banks lent billions to allies, and gold quietly flowed from Europe to America. Spanish flu, deadly virus sweeps globe, public health emergency, But in shadows, central banks expanded the money supply, funding post-war reconstruction and setting up the next boom. Treaty of Versailles, peace at last, Germany to pay reparations. The reality, reparation forced Germany to borrow from US and UK banks, trapping it in a cycle of debt and hyperinflation. But these weren't isolated incidents. Every era had its headlines and its hidden flaws of money and power. Let's compare what we were told to what really happened. History's headlines were loud, but the real power moved quietly in the flow of cash, gold, and debt. To see the truth, you have to follow the money, not the headlines. Today, the world is shifting yet again. The dollar's power is no longer absolute. When empires chase profit over truth, what karma do they face? COVID crashed the markets. The Ukraine war shook Europe. Suddenly, countries like China and India are buying gold like never before. Germany and France are demanding their gold back. Japan is boosting its defense budget. The US is cutting Pentagon spending by 40% over 5 years. The world is moving to a multipolar order, and the dollar's worst year since 1973 is just the beginning. The rise and fall of empires echoes the rise and fall of the ego. Dharma offers a way out by aligning action with truth, not just profit. So why does this cycle repeat? In the West, the belief is one life. So consume, conquer, and forget the consequences. But our Sanatana Dharma teaches us about karma, the cycle of birth and rebirth, and respect for Mother Nature. Krishna warns, every action has a reaction. The world is paying the price for greed and ignorance. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 16.7, those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. The solution isn't just to blame America or the banks. It is to change ourselves. Live with Dharma. Question the headlines and remember, karma always comes back. Build a world where money serves people, not the other way around. If this video surprised you, you are not alone. The real story of money, war, and power is finally coming out. But the answer isn't new policies or currencies. It is in new consciousness. By living with Dharma, questioning illusions, and respecting karma, we can break the cycle that keeps repeating. The rest is up to you. Jai Sri Ram, Hare Krishna.